Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Nick Cage Fight Podcast, where we review films starring Nicolas Cage, and we ask ourselves some questions presented by the film in front of us. Sometimes these questions are odd and absurd, like what if the entire staff took acid before doing their table read of heavy metal? Or what if an uncircumcised dude
Okay, that
hung
is just
dong?
something that happened, though.
I know. Or what if a guy with a chainsaw fought a guy with a bigger chainsaw?
Wait, what was the bit about the uncircumcised dude?
Oh, what if
What if
a,
he
a,
hangs
a
dong?
very uncircumcised dude hung dong in a
No,
feature-length film?
and what if Night Beast 1982 played on TV in the 80s?
What if you kept a full bottle of vodka in a cabinet in your bathroom?
Well, you scream. That's what it. What if Cheddar Goblin?
Yeah, what
What
if
if
Cheddar Goblin? Question mark. That's the end of
That is
fucking
the question.
interrogatory, people. These are all questions presented by the film we're talking about today. We are here to wrap up our review synopsis deep dive on the film Mandy, which if you're listening to this out of order, I guess you have no patience to get through your meal before you get to your dessert. And to you, I say, fucking good luck, man.
Enjoy
Grab
that
what you want.
diabetes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had dessert first tonight, and you know what? I am paying for it right now.
Look, sometimes you just need a little coffee and baklava before your meal.
Tonight was not the night. I had a peanut butter brownie from a local high class establishment, and boy, was that a mistake.
Yeah. Also, coffee and baklava. That's an old man's dessert.
Yeah, it is.
Hold up.
aging
Let's
ourselves.
hold on.
I'm an old man.
We stand a baklava.
Yeah,
We're old. That's
we
the
are
whole
old.
fucking reason. If we were Zoomers, we would be like, "Fucking, what is baklava? What are you
It's
talking
fucking
about?
delicious, and you should all eat it.
Is that the ski mask people sometimes wear? I've only ever
That's
seen
a
the word
balaclava.
I know. It's balaclava, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's an old man dessert, and it is phenomenal. Trust me.
If you want to get even more old man with it, you get it instead of coffee, you have an espresso and a little side of sambuca.
Yeah, and if
Ooh,
you're
yeah.
old enough, you skip the coffee portion of that and just have your sambuca with your baklava.
Yeah, but that's if you really stopped giving a fuck.
Yeah, well, also, by the way, if you haven't stopped giving a fuck by mid 50s to early 60s, I don't know what you're doing, personally. That's just my take. So I don't want to keep our audience in suspense. We left off at a very critical point in the story at the tail end of our last episode. There has been...
And there's about to be a large cock in your face. Prepare
No.
yourself, listener.
Yeah. I mean...
I'm
really
mid-sized cock.
But it's a mid-sized limp, which means that man's got an 8-inch hard on. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, he might not be a shower. I mean, a grower. He might just be a shower.
I'll give credit that I can give based on the restrictions on modern filmmaking. The man has a large foreskin. I'll grant him that. Where we last left off, there has been a home invasion in this picturesque cabin in the wilderness of California, and some of it was perpetrated by demonic bikers, as far as we are aware at this point, and some nefarious cultists. And I think the way they've been portrayed so far is really critical to the scene that we're about to see. Mandy has had LSD forced into her eyeball, which in my experience is not the best way to experience that drug in particular. But I have also never tried it that way myself. And then stung in the neck by a gigantic murder wasp, which I'm certain in saying cannot be pleasant. And then she is led down a hallway in her own home by Lucy, Sister Lucy, and Mother Marlene, two members of the cult of the Children of the Dawn. Titles are very important in this film, and they really only throw that one title card at you with the introduction of the cult, but it lends some gravitas to the bad guys we're dealing with, and more importantly, it's a gravitas that they sort of feed into that might not actually be the reality of how this group functions. And I think that dichotomy is important to point out. So Mandy is led into her own living room where, as Rich mentioned at the end of the last episode, and is very important, basically when characters take drugs in this film, or when drugs are present, that impact is imparted upon the viewer through the audio and the visual that we get to see. So we have a number of color filters that we're dealing with throughout the course of this scene. We also get trailing laser, very reminiscent of what's the name of the film, Ryan, again, that was playing on the TV?
Night Beast.
Night Beast.
Night
We
Beast.
get that fucking trail around people when they're moving, like you see in the scenes in Night Beast on the TV, where I'm assuming it's trying to convey
It's trying
teleporting
to
or some
emulate.
shit like that.
I'm pretty sure in Night Beast it's all like disintegration rays.
Oh, okay. So disintegration rays and shit like that. You get that Technicolor outline as people move. And for anybody who has done hallucinogens,
I believe the technical term for these would be tracers.
tracers, exactly. So we see that demonstrated visually on the screen, and it is disconcerting on purpose, because we're being put in the shoes of the characters that we're watching. So Mandy is led into this sort of orgiastic looking scene, like all of the cultists are sort of sprawled out on the couches.
And Jeremiah is wearing the same robe that Spock is wearing in Star Trek II: Return of Spock. Wrath of Khan. Wrath of Khan.
So it's funny. It hit me like a leftover costume from like the live action Mortal Kombat, the first one. You know what I mean?
I definitely see that vibe 100%.
Yeah.
Or like an Emerson, Lake and Palmer live performance from like the early 80s.
Yeah, there you go. So this is, and it's funny given the 2018 release date for this. I think it's become more commonplace. And again, I don't think this film is overtly political in any way, but you know me, I'm gonna make it a little bit that for this next part. So Jeremiah starts going in to this sort of grandiose speech about how he's chosen by God and blah, blah, blah. And he asks Mandy what she sees when she looks upon him. Now, again, remember, he knows she's fucking drugged out of her mind on his orders. And her response is that when she looks at him, she sees a Reaper fast approaching, which is just one of many really fucking metal lines of dialogue in this film. It's got a number of them and they're all fucking dope. Personal opinion. But he goes on about the beauty in the world and his responsibility to share it with people, his followers specifically. It is an incredibly narcissistic speech by design. And he puts on a song. He puts on a record that is playing a song. And it's clearly a song about him. And this is the point where it hits the viewer that, oh shit, this guy's a fucking failed musician turned cult leader.
Just like Charlie.
And here is where I'm going to turn it a little bit political. So when this movie came out, it wasn't a trope that every right-wing psycho was doing a podcast or a YouTube or red band.video show turns out to be a failed comedian of some sort. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But so like it wasn't the trope in the way that we might think of it here now in this year of our Lord 2023. So it was a little bit ahead of its time for a spurned narcissist being one of the most potentially dangerous cretinous individuals that you could possibly come across. And kudos to it for seeing the writing on the wall on that one. So my political digression aside, Jeremiah leans in front of Mandy again, going on about how God chose him for this. And during his speech where he's giving this talk, and I've thought about this a lot, and I really want to get your guys' opinions on it, because during this speech, we see Jeremiah's face. It's filling the screen. and Mandy's face is fading in and out, melded on top of his face. At certain points, you don't see even his lips moving. Other points you do, and it sort of fades back and forth during this whole speech. And I'm not entirely sure of the filmmaker's intention, but it was obviously an evocative scene. I'm not sure if we're seeing Mandy wrestling with the drug she's been given, or Jeremiah's incredibly delusional position in having facilitated this meeting, trying to impress her. What was your guys' take on that? Because it was a very deliberate visual decision.
Definitely think it's the former. I think it's her trying to stay as sober as physically possible because of this highly threatening situation.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
I also think it might have to do with the later implication that the specific type of LSD that all of these people have been taking might give you mild psychic powers.
Okay,
because of what happens with the chemist later in the movie.
So I'm sorry, you thought that was indicative of a transference of psychic ability?
Psychic
ability?
I didn't get
that from that scene.
The chemist thing, I don't think it was a transference of psychic ability. I think that chemist is able to read Nick Cage's mind because he also took that weird LSD.
Oh, okay. So I think we have a different approach to drug scenes, because my take was, I'm not sure how much of that was reciprocated. Much as like the nascent connections your mind will make when you're bringing the subconscious to the forefront, because the chemist wasn't ignorant of some of the shit that was going on.
Right. But I don't know if he was 100% aware of everything that had happened. I think that at the very least, there's a level of increased empathy that he has because of the LSD at that exact moment, which I personally could consider a nascent psychic ability coming to the forefront.
That's kind of cool, is specifically because you previously mentioned Star Trek. So like, and given the timeline, like the inspirations that this film clearly drew from, you might be closer to the heart of the matter, saying, why wouldn't they throw some mind meld shit in there?
Yeah, why wouldn't they throw some mind meld shit? I don't even like Star Trek that much, but I know that every even numbered Star Trek movie is the good ones.
So I am inclined with your argument to agree with you, and I wasn't, because I was left a little bit baffled by this. I wasn't sure if it was a deeper character critique, because we don't really, at the heart of it, we don't get to know Mandy super well.
Yeah.
In this film. So I don't know if she was keying to, if the intention was to be her keying to some of these narcissistic tendencies in Jeremiah,
and his like consistent failure, artistic failure. But whereas she is a successful artist, as we've seen previously.
She certainly is incredibly talented, but we don't have any indication as far as any sort of commercial success.
Oh, no,
we also don't see her
successful, aesthetically successful.
Exactly.
Not like 100%. Commercially successful.
So yeah, exactly. For me, it was hard to tell. Is this a foible type scenario that
I think it is, yeah. And I think that she's keying into something in his mind that he doesn't 100%, that he isn't self-aware enough to grapple with himself, which is probably what causes him to act out like this.
Actually, that's kind of inspired, because her reaction, the crux of this scene, let's describe it and then we'll dive back into the conversation. Because he gives this speech, it's again incredibly trippy, the faces melding, and then we get to the point in my notes where the line reads, "Oh shit, dude hangs dong." He opens his robe and he is completely naked underneath, and we see, as brave as Hollywood has permitted themselves to become at this point, flaccid male penis. Again, incredibly uncircumcised.
In the original script, he was supposed to jerk off.
He does.
He does. Yeah, I was about to say he does.
I mean, like on screen, he was supposed to jerk off.
Yeah, again, Hollywood is not brave enough to show fully erect penis.
We show it. We show all of it.
We show all of it.
So yeah, he exposes himself. Words won't do it justice. Go ahead. If you haven't seen a man's foreskin hang down almost to his knees, check this film out. if you're curious what that fucking looks like. This man it has an abundance of foreskin.
Dude could hide like a bowling ball up there.
That's how he smuggled his LSD and cocaine on planes, man.
Yeah, dude. Dude could donate foreskin to 10 people who are holding signs that says like foreskin is genital mutilation.
Foreskin more like 5 skin, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So, anyway, dick jokes aside. So this song is playing. This man has given this incredibly narcissistic speech, and Mandy's response is perfect to make things worse, but it is incredibly hardcore and metal. She starts cackling, laughing, and with the effect of the drugs, and again that being imposed on the viewing audience, there's distortion in the audio. It sounds almost sinister. The laughter, she cannot stop laughing with the song about him, written by him, performed by him standing naked in front of. It's the most intense emasculation of an individual I think I've seen on screen.
It would have been way funnier if he became an innie in that moment, though.
Maybe, but I can't think of a more visceral.
Balls pulled straight up into his chest.
I can, like, can you guys think of a more visceral defenestration of a character in a film in recent history, or in
not off the top of my head?
No.
It's fucking rough, deserved for sure.
There's a movie called Possession from the 80s where this happens to Sam Neill, more or less, during a brutal divorce, but then it ends up being that, oh my god, there is actually some eldritch Lovecraft fucking monster controlling his now ex-wife. That it's sort of similar, but that's the only thing that pops to mind that is even comparable.
Sounds like a cop-out to me, because this is just a woman in a life or death situation being like, you are fucking pathetic, dude.
Yeah.
And it is very tonally important to the remainder of the film. So during this laughing scene, Jeremiah seems to try to angrily jerk off. So we only get the view of him sort of navel and up, but the motion is
clear.
Yeah, kind of unable to be mistaken for anything else. And he starts screaming at her to shut up and the cultists to not fucking look at him. And then we cut
don't look, Red. I'm about to come.
We cut back to Red, who is tied up outside with barbed wire. And then we cut back to Jeremiah having a bit of a mental breakdown in front of a mirror to himself. We cut back to Red from here, and the cultists approach him, leaving the cabin briefly. And he is fucking pissed. He is soured on Mandy entirely. Of course, after she dressed him down in front of all of his acolytes, he refers to her as a whore from here on out. And...
Yo, real quick, I wish I got that soundboard up so I could have done the did he come?
That would have been incredibly appropriate.
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
But also, he didn't. That's the whole point of this scene, is that there is a full-on stop of Jeremiah's Messiah complex, and that is what provokes
everything.
The fucking catalyst moment of the film. So Jeremiah, again, very emasculated, is trying to reestablish his dominance, and to display this, he taunts Red about him and Mandy's love by saying, you think that's what love is? I'll show you what love is, and has Lucy kneel in front of him, and he pulls a revolver. He puts one bullet in the chamber, spins it, cocks it, hands it to Lucy held up against her head, and has her pull the trigger. The hammer clicks down on an empty cylinder, but the point is clear. Love is somebody who's willing to fucking kill themselves at your word, which of course is a complete misinterpretation, which is the juxtaposition that is what the film is trying to demonstrate at this point.
Now, if that doesn't happen at your wedding, it's not love.
Oh, you didn't know we were having a full recreation of the deer hunter scene at our wedding? That's what we're doing instead of...
Oh, good. Okay.
The bridal Russian roulette.
So I can bet on it. It has my two favorite things: Russian roulette and betting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got them
Dude
to
screaming
allow
Diddy Mao.
smoking indoors specifically for that portion of the ceremony.
I mean, yeah, it's a religious observance. You can't say no.
So,
Yeah,
Brother
wait, how many
Swan-
Vietnamese people did you hire?
Oh, you only
Oh.
need like 4. They better be bringing some good pork belly, though. We'll fuck up some pork belly at that wedding.
Ryan, remind me to introduce you to a friend of mine who's a bit of a foodie, and one of the things he loves to do is make pork belly. He brought one of the first things that solidified our friendship was he brought me a Yoda glass Tupperware filled with homemade pork belly and his own like sauce. And I ate all of it at my desk. Like, I think he gave it to me with the intention of me to bring it home, and I was like, no, I fucking housed
Yeah,
all
you
that.
just gotta eat it.
This is a treat just for me.
Yeah. So Brother Swan shows Red a dagger that he says is the blade of the Pale Knight from the Abyssal Lair. So we get some
fucking D&D bullshit.
Yeah, we get some more reinforcement of this like supernatural mythology that the Children of the Dawn are cloaking themselves in, and then we get an ad break because I got super wrapped up in the plot, and we are overtime on that. So fucking listen to this, and if you don't like it, fucking subscribe to the Patreon. I don't know what to tell you. We say it every time. There's a way out of this. The key to your salvation rests securely in your own palms.
You can escape.
You can
You're not
escape
trapped here.
for just $1 a month. $1 a month gets you out of this hell. Patreon.com/NickCageFight.
Cost of a cup of coffee a month.
That's it's not even. That's $12 fucking a year. It's not going to do anything
it's the
for
cost
us.
of one Starbucks coffee a year.
Yeah. That is just the sacrifice to the gods that run our world, which are the gods of capitalism. It's a token gesture. Just do it. But otherwise, listen to these ads. I'm curious what they're gonna fucking plant in for this one. I don't know what the algorithm thinks of this, but let's see. And we're back.
I wonder if the algorithm is going to plug in like one of those ketamine for depression ads.
Possibly. I was thinking that maybe we should film a little PSA where we look all disheveled and Arms of the Angel plays in the background. And that's how we get our Patreon subscribers. Guilt tripping people.
That's a good bit. What I thought though was to record a fake ad drop, like an elder god was sort of trying to drop in and take advantage of the pervasiveness of advertising to start subverting people's consciousnesses and drive them to madness.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool. It was like an ad. So unfortunately, Gwyneth Paltrow ruined my knee-jerk reaction for this bit to advertise Goop. Goop is about shoving jade eggs into your vagina instead of some
actual goop.
Yeah, some eldritch,
some real goop
to keep you young forever, but completely insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, you can call it something different, like slop. Gravy.
Oh, shit.
Smear this gravy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we get some more supernatural imagery added to the cult. Jeremiah takes the blade of the Pale Knight and stabs Red in the side with it. There's some Jesus on the cross imagery here.
Yeah, he's stabbed in the exact same spot he would have been poked with that the spear of Longinus.
Yep, the blood and water. And can you tell most of us are escaped from mainstream religious culture?
Yeah, or just really big Neon Genesis Evangelion fans.
Yeah, but to truly appreciate that, you have to have gotten out of one of those things in the first place.
Yeah, or watched a lot of early Ultraman, which also has that like weird Christian imagery bullshit.
There you go. So Jeremiah tells Red that both he and Mandy will see that the cleansing power of fire cannot be reasoned with, which is another metal line attributed to a worm of a man in the film. But still, like,
I would not love this man if he turned into a worm.
Yeah. So the cultists then perform a very gruesome act in front of Red, restrained as he is by barbed wire. They bring out a sleeping bag that clearly contains the still alive body of Mandy. They string it up on what looks like a swing set, but no swings on it. It's just the structure itself. And then they douse it in gasoline and light it on fire. Red screams while he watches. Obviously, it's a brutal scene, start to finish. The cultists are watching and laughing or smiling, and the scene fades to black as Red screams on. So that grisly act completed, the cultists get in their vehicles and depart, leaving Red tied up. He finally manages to wriggle a hand free of the barbed wire and frees himself and crawls towards Mandy's burnt remains. He goes into the cabin at this point, and to paint a picture here, Red, Nicolas Cage, is in a long sleeve t-shirt with a tiger on the front of it, and
like a baseball 3/4 tee where it goes just past your elbows.
Yeah, and white briefs. That's it. That's all he's wearing.
The tidiest of whiteists.
Yes.
And he pauses in front of the TV for an insane commercial for cheddar goblin mac and cheese, which includes fantastic bits with goblin vomiting mac and cheese onto screaming and cheering children. It's fucking insane.
I had to watch it twice because he throws up right in those children's mouths.
And they're screaming and cheering the whole time.
They're super happy about it.
Berserk. And then he falls down on the bed and passes out. We see the first of a number of cartoon scenes. We see a woman that looks like Mandy, zombified and turning towards the camera and screaming before Red wakes up with a gasp. And here it is, perhaps the most unhinged Nick Cage scene of all time. He walks into, in contrast with the rest of the film, a very well lit bathroom. That is very much an 80s bathroom. I'm talking about like toilet on a 2-inch raised tile platform, carpeting on the rest of the fucking thing.
Carpeting on the toilet seat. Vile.
Yeah.
80s should be fucking absolutely.
Oh man,
gross.
I remember
so gross.
those. Not the worst thing in the world. It made the toilet
They always
warm.
smell like piss. They
Felt
always
great.
smell like piss.
Felt great, but the logistics on maintaining that in any sort of hygienic fashion is impossible. And he pulls in a full bottle of vodka from a cabinet in the bathroom. Why it's there, who knows? But he starts chugging directly from the bottle and groaning and yelling and growling, and then he pours some of it on his wounds and screams some more. He sits down on the toilet and screams and cries, and then drinks more, and then cries more. It's a absolutely insane scene. That is very awesome.
It's awesome. It was my favorite unhinged. I mean, okay, the I lost my hand is still my favorite unhinged scene, but this is more unhinged.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will ever get better for me.
I don't know, man.
Then...
You cut my shirt. You cut my shirt is really good in this.
That was really good
too, but this is far more unhinged.
It's far more unhinged. Just my favorite one is I lost my hand. I lost my girl. He still has his hand. He still has his girl.
See, I still love the bad man speech. That's will forever be one of my favorites. But this is it. The competition is getting steep on that mountaintop.
Yeah, to say the least.
Well, especially with these later Nick Cage films, I feel like directors go in and say like, "Hey, this is the crazy scene. Go do you."
Yeah, you know what we want. You know what we're paying you for. So at this point, we get to what is, in my opinion, one of the most pivotal scenes in the film, which is Red. He gets in his vehicle. He drives off to a trailer in the woods. And this character is named Carruthers, credited as Carruthers, but is never referred to by name in the film. And it's this little trailer, and Red is admitted by Carruthers and says he came for, quote unquote, the Reaper, which is a scoped crossbow. Carruthers also indicates that he has a gift for him, which is a couple of handcrafted crossbow bolts that Carruthers made himself. Red tells him that he's hunting, and when pressed, he says he's hunting Jesus freaks. To which one of the funniest lines in the entire fucking movie is Carruthers going, "I didn't know they were in season." So Red describes what happened,
Such a
and
good action movie line.
it sounds as insane as it is, right? The scenes we described up till now, Red describes like any of us would, and it sounds, like I said, completely unhinged. But Carruthers is like, oh yeah, no, not even phased. He's like, oh yeah, those weird bikers, they're called the Black Skulls. People have been talking about the Black Skulls, and word is one of their chapters got on the wrong side, a chemist they were running drugs for, who gave them a specific batch that fried their brains, basically. And that people who have run into them have said they seem to be in constant agonizing pain and that they love it, right? So we have this. I again, one of the reasons why I think this is so critical is it lends an element of reality to some of the supernatural elements that have been described. Because up until now, it looks like fucking Jeremiah Sand has a secret relic that summons bikers from hell to do their bidding. When in actuality, they have a weird call sign for a group of LSD brain fried bikers.
Yeah, that's what I thought at first. I thought at first they were like demons or aliens or something. And when it turns out that it's like, no, they're people who just took a bunch of shitty LSD, like, oh, okay, that it still makes sense. Makes perfect sense to me.
Totally.
It lends an amount of credibility to some of the truly fantastical things that we've seen thus far. And I think grounding the audience in reality at this point is really important, because you get to do a couple of things as a viewer that I think are really fun. Is you get to embrace the pseudo supernatural that clearly matters to a certain extent to the bad guys in this film and might mean something, right? While also going, okay, I'm not watching goddamn Lord of the Rings right now. There is a strain of reality that is an important undercurrent to this film. And I think establishing that is important to at least my enjoyment. Like the parts of my brain that I'm not consciously monitoring, this scene was what basically gave me the go ahead to like fucking lean in, sit back, enjoy yourself. Everything makes sense here. You don't have to think too much more about it. We're not going to go into annoying amounts of detail, but here you go. There's reality straddling fantasy. Have a good time with it. Maybe that's just detailing my own personal hangups, but I think it speaks to a logical portion of a lot of people's brains where this scene gives you permission tacitly to enjoy the rest of this, no matter how weird it gets. And it gets fucking weird, people. So Carruthers does explain, hey, I don't think you have a good chance against these fucking acid fried bikers, but this is where the last thing I heard on the CB, this is where they were last spotted. So then we cut to Red at a makeshift forge, just making the coolest fucking axe you've ever seen. It's like part axe, part scythe. He wraps some leather around portions of the haft, but has like a handle near the head so you can take this wide double grip stance with it for leverage.
And it's shaped like the F from the Celtic Frost logo.
Right. I was about to say, we were talking about this off air. This is the Celtic Frost reference.
Yep.
And then we do get another title card, which is just Mandy in full on unreadable lightning / tree root death metal font. That
means we get the title card drop like an hour and a half into this 2 hour movie,
which I fucking loved, because this really felt like a more digestible version of Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Just because
less Kill Bill like referential.
Right, just like Kill Bill Part 1 and Part 2, which was originally supposed to be one movie, but when he shot it, it was 5 hours long.
Yeah.
This is a more digestible Kill Bill, because from here on out, it is essentially the Crazy 88 scene.
Yup.
I think, honestly, you tripped me up because I didn't think of it like that, but this might be Western Kill Bill.
Kill Bill Part 2 is Western Kill Bill.
No, I mean Western versus Eastern influence.
Yeah.
Oriental versus Occidental style inspiration.
Right. I get what you're saying there.
I mean, I still think that Kill Bill Part 2, excluding the Pai Mei sequence, is still more of a Western than this really is. in terms of the way it's shot and the whole being buried alive sequence is straight out of a bunch of spaghetti westerns.
The problem when we dive into this level is the fact that westerns as like a genre of storytelling is just 100% taking whole cloth from fucking samurai stories.
Not until after a certain point. There is a break point in the history of westerns where they started to have to take outside influence, because the western starts in like the 1800s as a literary form, which was not particularly good to start, but then it got better and better, and then they started making movies once movies were a thing, and it became the most pervasive genre in filmmaking in America until everyone was fucking bored of it. And a bunch of Italian filmmakers who were interested in the earlier American Western films also saw some foreign films from like Japan. And that's where you get that influence. And not until the 1970s, Western as a genre had like a 50-year history before the influence of Japanese cinema started to sort of morph it into what we know now as the standard Western.
Right. And you get one of my favorite movies ever, The Magnificent Seven.
It's okay. It's fine.
Oh, I love them. I love them. I would now. This is going to make Ryan come through my computer screen and strangle me. I have seen both those movies. Would rather watch Magnificent Seven. Yep, there he comes. Well, shit.
Well, no, actually, thank you for that, Ryan, because I to this point, I have not been giving westerns their proper due. Every time I watch almost every western I've watched, I'm like, oh shit, this is Yojimbo or fucking, Seven Samurai.
That's because the ones that people still want to watch are the Clint Eastwood ones, and that's right around the time period where that started being the major influence.
Also, I will say this, as far as genre blends go, that's like fucking PB&J, baby.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Gunslinger, Lone Swordsman, man, that shit fucking works. So, anyway, the next thing we see is Red driving down a forest trail, intercut with him looking down the scope of his crossbow. He is effectively stalking the bikers at this point, the Black Skull bikers. He fires a crossbow bolt at one of them and hits them. This is the one wearing all of the nails. And here's where we get another scene where some of this supernatural element happens. They do this a lot with the bikers, not so much with the cultists, which I find interesting. Red hits this guy like in the neck, knocks him off his vehicle, gets back into his vehicle, comes down the trail and attempts to run this man down. Or woman, actually. This is a fully masked individual. We don't ever get any definitive answer on that. But when Red hits the biker, the car flips like he hit a fucking cement barricade and crashes, and Red blacks out. So we get some more cartoon old sci-fi book cover landscapes. Cartoon Mandy is floating naked in the water, a callback to the scene where she is swimming in our live action scene when they have that campfire built on the edge of the lake. And Red wakes up handcuffed to a radiator by one hand, and his other hand is pinned to the floor with a nail.
I'm about to say it's nailed to the floor.
Yeah. One of the bikers, this is the porcelain mask with the drippy goo, comes in and slashes his chest with a switchblade. This is the scene that Ryan mentioned. That was my favorite shirt. You cut my favorite shirt.
Cut my favorite shirt. Yep.
It's a dope shirt. It's just another one of those 3/4 sleeves with a 44 on it, right?
Yeah, and you get a flashback at some point where it shows that his initial meeting with Mandy was in a
club wearing that shirt.
That shirt, yep.
The biker beats Red, who cries out, calls him a vicious snowflake, which again puts this movie a little bit before, like, ahead of its time as far as lingo and some tropes that it's using. But he breaks free. The radiator pipe that he is cuffed to is flimsy and screwed in poorly, and so he's able to free his one hand and bludgeons the biker with a pipe, knocking him down what looks to be like a bottomless fucking pit. They're on this like grate in some sort of building, and then pulls the nail out of his hand with like his free bare fingers, which is an impressive feat. And then he loots the place again. Like this movie, I would say, intentionally or not, appeals to gamers to a certain extent.
Gamers rise up.
Yeah, he loots the room, right? And he finds, he just got beaten, his gear got took. We've all been at this point in the game. So he loots the room where you break free after your FMV sequence or whatever.
It happens in Metal Gear Solid. It happens in at least 2 of the Resident Evil games. I could keep going, but this is a video game thing.
So he finds a rusty box cutter and like a burnt leather biker vest. So this is armor and weapon. We got both from looting this room. He takes both, donning the vest, and goes exploring the place in which he's been kept. He finds a dead, naked older couple in a room, and then he goes out to the living room of this place, which he finds another biker watching some vintage pornography on a tube TV. I guess it wasn't vintage.
I think it was contemporary at the time.
Yeah. Contemporary pornography on a tube TV. And he's wearing a bladed codpiece like the one from Seven. Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about.
I know the one you're talking about.
Everybody knows the one I'm fucking talking about. This guy has that. Which is
Seven hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah. So
ahead of the time.
Yep.
A fight ensues, and Red cuts the biker's throat with the box cutter, with all the blood pouring directly down on top of him. Now, my notes were a little bit hasty in this. They sort of like scuffle and they fall, with the biker falling on top of Red. The key detail here is that the bladed wiener of the codpiece sticks into the floor directly underneath Red's groin, missing doing any severe irreversible damage to him. And that's when Red cuts his throat with the box cutter. Copious arterial blood spray directly onto Red's face. Oh, the other thing I failed to mention is this biker with the spiked codpiece is doing mountains of cocaine. Just like mounds and mounds of cocaine. He's like snorting a huge pile off of a broken piece of glass. It's ridiculous. So this is when another biker shows up. I think this is the return of the porcelain masked biker who tries to shoot at Red with a shotgun, fails. This is actually the scene where you get the you ripped my shirt, you ripped my favorite shirt.
I love it.
Yeah. Red breaks this biker's neck and then snorts a whole mound of the cocaine. Because if you're gonna go hard, fucking commit. He finds his bad axe mounted on the wall over top the kitchen area. He takes it and a canvas bag, stuffs it with various shit from the biker hideout, including some spiky bomb looking things that I don't think ever play a role in it. He finds the Reaper in one of the cabinets, puts that in there. And then he finds a mason jar that looks very much like the tribute that was given to the bikers in the scene before the raid on the cabin. He dips his finger in and takes just a little taste and we get an insane flash of hallucinations just from this dipped finger.
It was so
and
good.
I mean, he also took some of that coke.
He did, but I'm blaming the fucking pupils on this shit.
Oh, and but I think it kicked in faster because of all the coke.
True. And just a reminder, one of the bikers drank a whole fucking mason jar of this shit that Red just took a finger licking of, which is bonkers. So weapons in hand, high as fuck, Red goes back to hunting. He spies another a biker outside the house by a burning car, and shoots him through the neck with the crossbow. This guy just pulls the arrow out of his neck, spraying blood, but does not seem otherwise phased. And here we are. We're going long in this episode one way or another because we still got to round this out. But you got to listen to some more fucking ads unless you are paying money. All right,
give us $1.
Cash money, $1 a month
a year. God damn, man. I'm annoyed just having to tell you guys about this. If all of our listenerships just spent $1 a month, $12 a year, we wouldn't even have to do this anymore. We would just fucking drop the ads on the peons who don't want to fucking pay. just out of nowhere, out of context, ads. Here you go. But, anyway, if you're not paying, listen to this. And we're back.
And if you're sick of hearing those ads, patreon.com/NickCageFight. I am tired.
Yeah, same.
And we all did take hallucinogens before recording this to
I just took a bunch of Dayquil.
Yep.
I did 2 tabs of acid. What?
So Red having hit this biker with, it's funny now that I think of it, he shoots 2 crossbow bolts in the course of this film, and Carruthers only gave him 2 of those super shots. So essentially what we have here is a golden gun situation that does not seem to phase this biker. So Red approaches with his handmade axe, and a fight ensues. This very stoic biker jumps into action furiously as soon as Red tries to take him out with the axe, and we get a bit of a fight scene here. The biker starts taunting Red with talking about Mandy and her death, saying she's still burning. Red kicks him into the burning car, setting the guy on fire, and then cuts its head off with his axe. He then picks up a dropped cigarette and lights it off of the burning head and takes a couple drags. Very badass.
It's dope.
Yep. Then we cut to an overhead shot of Red riding a stolen ATV from the bikers, them now being vanquished. He arrives at what appears to be the laboratory of the chemist. It looks like an abandoned aircraft hangar of some sort, or weird greenhouse. It's one of those half tube shaped buildings. You know what I mean? This scene is pretty fucking interesting. This guy is shirtless, but wearing like a leather apron of some sort. He's got full on like the golden Luger golden gun from GoldenEye on the table next to him. He also has a full grown ass tiger in a cage. The tiger's name is Lizzie, by the way.
Originally supposed to be a lizard, if I'm not mistaken, in the script, but they had access to a tiger, and they were like, "Yeah, I got to go big before we go home."
Exactly.
Well, yeah, a tiger makes it feel like there's stakes.
Also, the chemist is listening to some weird synth shit that I'm sure you guys are going to correct me on.
Didn't clock it.
It's a tape deck that he's playing, and it's some weird synth music.
I think that might just be stuff scored by that Johan Johannesson guy.
Okay, so he turns to see Red covered in blood and then licks his fingertips. To be clear, the scene where we see the chemist working sort of from his POV, he's making tabs of acid by dipping a big piece of paper with printed segments on it into liquid. He's not wearing gloves, so his fingers are covered in acid. Now, I don't know about you guys or our listeners, if you've ever had a chance to just try liquid acid as opposed to salivating over a little piece of paper. That shit is fucking intense in the smallest of doses. So my man is high as fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, he sees Red, decides to get more high on acid, and then opens the tiger's cage with a button. He has a remote cage opening button on his workstation, and the tiger just leaves with the chemist saying, "Bye, Lizzie," which I enjoyed. So this is a very interesting scene, which is the basis of Ryan's premise that these drugs convey some sort of psychic ability, because the way it plays out, it looks like the chemist is having a full conversation with Red, who is not saying anything at all. It's like hearing one end of a telephone conversation.
Yeah.
There is in this scene an insane single shot that was probably very expensive and is otherwise not commented on, where we cut to the chemist's feet. He's wearing boots, and there's just a bunch of liquid and millipedes like sort of writhing around at his feet.
Yeah, I noticed that and didn't
look like it was CG. So
no, like I said, I think that was a very expensive single shot that they reference in no way, shape, or form. It lends a definite amount of sinister to this interaction. The chemist tells Red that the Children of the Dawn went north, and Red leaves, presumably without any additional violence to the chemist himself. So in this scene, we get a couple of shots of Red from the front riding the ATV with the axe strapped to his back. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the handle of the axe, which has this like flanged blade element sticking out, but it looks like the neck of a guitar over his shoulder. And I don't think that's an accident, personally. The ATV gets stuck in the mud, and we get another cartoon rendition of Mandy, who is standing over the body of a dead beast man of some sort. And she pulls out of one of his wounds a glowing green jewel that drips gore on her. Red awakes on the ground. He passed out apparently after he got to this point. And
I think that might be a direct reference to heavy metal. I think that might supposed to be the Lochnar.
Well, also the what was the name of the book that Mandy's reading? Is like the Seekers of the Serpent Gem or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So, and it has like a green jewel, I think, on the cover. So yeah, Red wakes up eyeballing a lizard, and then spies on a valley that has a odd A-frame building, and the yellow van of the cultists outside of it. The van drives up the road, and then we cut to the perspective of the van, and as Swan goes to exit it, he's ambushed by Red, who hits him in the face, headbutts him, knocks him down around the base of a tree, and Swan starts talking about Mandy and how she burns so bright, and Red shoves the butt spike of his custom axe into Swan's mouth, killing him. Lucy watches this unfold, having just stepped out of the van with a tear trailing along her face, and Red walks off, leaving her untouched.
Yeah, spares her.
And that is the end of the story for Lucy. We don't see her again. So, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say an underdeveloped character, but an unresolved character.
Yeah. I mean, like her ties basically get unbound by the end of it. She's off. She can do whatever she wants. Start another cult, fuck off into the wilderness.
Yeah, my whole thing is we don't learn enough about Lucy to make any sort of assumptions about what happens to her after this, which is interesting. It's a solid mental itch, the kind that I appreciate in a film. So then we see the long hair blonde cultist who is washing a car while listening to Spanish music, and Red's axe spins through the air, catching this dude directly dead center in his cranium, murdering him outright. The other cultist, who's the primary muscle, the big dude who is also long hair but balding pretty severely along a widow's peak, is whittling. Is just carving up a little piece of wood.
Just chilling.
Yeah. Red stumbles across a chainsaw at this point, and again, much like a gamer, he puts down his custom axe and picks up the chainsaw. Where he makes a mistake is he fails to start the chainsaw. He's still trying as he walks up on the other cultist, the whittling cultist, who picks out the longest chainsaw I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and starts it up first rip.
Svelte chainsaw. It's quite long.
Yeah, it's a big one. So Red can't get his started, but manages to block the whittling cultist's first blow with it. At this point, he does get it running, and then we get a fucking chainsaw fight. That's why we're here. Red gets the upper hand. He is a smaller weapon. He's a smaller guy. His agility is his strength in this fight, and he manages to disarm the Whittler with a slash across his stomach. Unfortunately, the Whittler disarms Red in turn and takes Red's chainsaw. Red then grabs a big, thick iron chain, swinging it around his head before flinging it, wrapping it around the big man's neck, pulling him forward, tripping him onto the remaining running chainsaw.
Second movie in a row where we've gotten the chain around the neck pull bit.
Yeah.
Still dope as hell.
Yep.
And the cultist is gutted by the running chainsaw that he's fallen onto. My only gripe with this is that's not how chainsaws work. When they're idling, the chain is not spinning. But I don't care because this is rule of cool here. We respect that. And this is dope as fuck.
It was a cool kill. That's what matters.
Rule of cool always wins.
So the A-frame house is actually very church-like. Inside it has pews and a podium, and on both of the external facing walls that aren't roofs, they have cutouts of a crucifix. Red enters it, looks very briefly at the book that is on the podium, and tosses it aside very contemptuously. It's a solid but brief scene. He finds a opening that looks like it leads to a basement or crawl space and descends into a hellish tunnel, all red washed lens wise, and he walks down it with his custom axe back on his back. He clearly retrieved it after the chainsaw fight. Good on him. The tunnel does shrink as he goes, causing him to walk through it with a slight hunch. And at the end of the tunnel, he runs into Mother Marlene, who clutches at him. She tells him that Jeremiah has told her she's the most sensual lover he has ever been with, because she's so empathetic and can anticipate her lover's needs. She's basically trying to seduce Red. Let's see how this goes. We cut to a scene of a circular chamber that seems to be the terminus of several tunnels, where Jeremiah Sand is like embracing the wall. It looks like he's fucking the wall a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, it really looks like he's fucking the wall. It reminded me of a scene in Alejandro Jodorowsky's Holy Mountain where a dude fucks a mountain.
I mean, like, go big or go home, right? So yeah. Red enters. Jeremiah, by the way, is clad only in a loincloth. Red enters, props his axe by the entrance of the archway, and tosses something towards Jeremiah. We see it as the head of Mother Marlene. So her seduction ended in decapitation.
I guess he got a little head.
There you go.
Ooh, killed him.
Ooh, got him.
Yeah, Nancy Reagan on that Mother Marlene shit. Her head game is bonkers.
Call this lady a Hoover because she sucks.
There's a new champion of the head game.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. So yeah, that's the end of Mother Marlene's story. The red light just sort of strobes slowly at this point, and Jeremiah starts talking some shit again, back on his trip about God and how great he is and how Red is just meat without a soul. Red speaks, and at this point we have some severely distorted audio, so it sounds almost demonic. But I love this line. Red's response is, "The psychotic drones where the mystic swims. You're drowning. I'm swimming." I fucking love that line.
It's a Joseph Campbell line, actually. Not from his most famous Hero with a Thousand Faces, but one of his other books about like the history of storytelling.
I actually didn't realize it was from something else. That's fucking very cool.
Yeah, I got some problems with Joseph Campbell, but he can occasionally drop a banger.
That's a solid line.
Absolutely.
I'm not taking any outside opinions on that. That's fucking badass. Red approaches as Jeremiah starts scrambling a bit verbally. Red grabs Jeremiah's head between his hands. Jeremiah is desperate at this point. He literally offers to suck Red off if he'll let him live. He does to his credit, find a little bit of spine before his end, and talks some shit. But Red crushes Jeremiah's head in his bare hands, and then flicks a Zippo and tosses it onto Jeremiah's corpse, which ignites and burns alongside Marlene's head. Red leaves the A-frame church as it collapses from the flames that are rapidly spreading. At the risk of doxing ourselves a little bit more, but what is an episode without us skirting that line dangerously? This temple reminds me of that weird fucking pyramid structure that got like condemned and torn down a couple years ago. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Is it the one that's near us?
It's very near our general vicinity. I think it was along a certain major thoroughfare.
Yeah, homie, that's still there. That still exists.
Oh, I thought it got torn down.
No.
Yeah, I did too.
No, it is there.
It might have had to get like some renovations or something to stay standing then, because I remember there being like a whole thing where they were like, you got to tear this down, and I'm pretty sure that was
paper and everything.
Yeah, I thought that was like some
drive by it
cult meeting house or some shit. What or was it a church or something?
It was kind of a culty church, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was like a culty church. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
If it's still there, I gotta drive by.
Yes, it is. I drive by it a decent amount.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna take a pilgrimage before my wedding. That seems a fitting tribute to my past. Not that I went to that cult church. I just drove by it a lot. So,
yeah, it is.
Meaning is what you make it.
Well, because I mean, everybody I knew would drive by and be like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah. That is my only experience with it.
It's
so
like
anyway.
right next to a psychic's house too.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So Red gets into the car that the blonde long hair was washing before he was murdered by the axe. And he recalls his meeting with Mandy where he's wearing his favorite shirt. And they're at a club or music venue of some sort. And he's looking over at the passenger seat as he remembers this, and he sees Mandy there smoking a cigarette. He is covered in blood, looking utterly deranged, and smiles. It's another very famous still.
You have probably seen this picture. I have seen it memed pretty frequently.
Yeah. And then he drives on alone. The camera pans up, and the landscape again looks like the cover of an old pulp sci-fi novel, and then the credits roll. And there is Mandy.
There is an after credit scene. Did you not see that?
Nope.
Are you talking about the sketchbooks?
Okay, yeah.
All right. So yeah, the
I didn't see that.
Play in silence, which is interesting. And then there is shots of sketches that were done in the pre-production work for the film, which is a tribute to the artist. I believe it's the same artist.
It was the musician, yes. the guy that did all the music for the movie, Johannesson.
Yeah. So yes. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that, Ryan. I don't know. I think we sung the praises of this film and also talked about our theories and interpretations during the plot rundown. Do we have any closing thoughts from you guys on this one?
Movie fucks.
But yeah, I was just movie fucks.
There you go. And
I thought I was going to hate it. I thought that I was walking into certain doom.
I was going to say the endorsement of this film from me and Ryan should come as no surprise to anybody in our audience. This is up our alley. In general, if you were trying to put this movie in a box and put it in a specific genre. However, were you to do that, it would be definitively outside of Rich's comfort zone. So I think his endorsement is the most important one of the three of us for this particular film. That being said, if you have any sort of soft spot for an experimental film that is drawing inspiration from some tried and true elements of storytelling, this is a great example and solid use of a visual medium. certainly on par with the best that we've come across and talked about on this podcast thus far. I couldn't recommend it any more highly. Even if you've listened to us run it up and down, the visual element is such an important and strong part of this film, coupled with the audio score and presentation. You're not losing anything by watching this movie having been told the plot.
No. If at the very least you got to do yourself a favor and watch the Cheddar Goblin commercial.
Yes,
that
you do.
Too. That too, 100%. Watch this, man. It's a good movie. We don't always have the opportunity to recommend that you do that at the end of our episodes, so I implore you to take that recommendation seriously on this one. It's a solid flick.
It's way up there with Zandali for me.
Well, Zandali is a different, but I don't disagree with that either. But yeah, this is a movie worth watching. Certainly was a treat as far as preparing for one of our episodes, in my opinion. So give it a watch. I think everything that we have to say about this film has been said. So, Rich, why don't you tell us what we're in for next?
Well, we kind of already know that we are watching Color Out of Space next.
But there may be an episode in between.
Yeah, there might be an episode in between. As we have mentioned, our dear co-host Josh will be getting married. So you're going to get at least one Rich and Ryan episode.
Yeah, and I got a good plan for one. So
you're getting at least one.
That one will be a complete surprise if it does end up popping out.
Yeah, so the Color Out of Space, like, we understand that, like, that's Halloween week. Sorry for not getting super spoopy that week. We'll be better next time when one of us isn't getting married.
I mean, but that being said, Color Out of Space is a perfect capper to our spooky run. You're just gonna get, something maybe mildly off topic. I'm definitely not going to spoil anything that you guys have in store for our audience, but I'm sure it will be incredibly entertaining. But rounding out our celebration of the spooky season, which is near and dear to all of our hearts, Color Out of Space is going to be a good pick. We all fucking love Lovecraft and Lovecraftian horror. His outright racism notwithstanding, man could tell a story, right?
Yeah, man had brain worms, but man, could he tell a story?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm personally am very excited for it.
I am too. And I will I'll say this. I saw and I unfortunately can't remember who online I saw that said it, so I can't give credit. My apologies if you hear this and are offended. Email us or DM us and I'll be sure to give you retroactive credit. But somebody said, why do the elder gods react and impact humanity the way that they do instinctually when the difference in intelligence and comprehension is so far beyond our comprehension? And then I thought, what is the deal with humans' immediate revulsion and response to seeing a spider or a bug? Oh shit. And I thought that was actually a pretty insightful take on Lovecraftian horror and elder gods as a horrifying force. So,
my favorite version of that conversation is there was a Twitter thread where someone was like, yeah, I was explaining cosmic horror to my mom, and she was like, you mean like Horton Hears a Who?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, good. I do.
That's pretty good. But yeah, no, I'm excited for that. So,
I'm actually very excited for it. Again, as a fan of the Isle of Dr. Moreau, very, very excited.
Oh, we get to talk about how much of a shitbag Richard Stanley is.
We sure do. We sure do.
Nelly, I might end up watching that documentary where he loses his fucking mind.
There you go. So clearly, interesting things happening on the pod while you are waiting for our next episodes to drop. Please feel free to follow us on social media. You can find us on X for the moment at cagefight_pod. We're on Facebook for uncles and maybe more. Submit your applications today by giving us a follow on Facebook. We have a Patreon that Rich just keeps going on about, which is good because it benefits you guys too. For just $12 a month, you can skip all of those ads that we
$12
really
a year.
Oh yeah, a year. My bad. $12 a month is going to get you more than that.
One
of us might offer to suck you off if you don't crush our heads between your hands. Who knows? I don't even know if we have a tier for that one. But
I mean, I can make a tier for it.
Don't do that. That's too cheap, man. I don't think we could afford the travel to pull off all of those begging for our life situations.
Oh, I think we could. I think we could afford that.
Not for $12 a month for that tier. But Rich, what is the Patreon link again?
Patreon.com/Nick Cage Fight. $1 a month. Get you all of these episodes without ads. If you pay more, you get more. It's written in it's written in the thing, but give us $1. Let's start with $1. Let's establish trust.
Yeah, check it out. See if one of our products is right for you.
Yeah, that's what like let's establish trust first, and then we can move on. This is how like the boiler room scam works, by the way.
Yeah.
I will personally haggle with you on over DMs if you want to try and negotiate pricing. Nobody's tried it yet. Be the first. Who knows? Fuck it. Be a hero. Try it out.
See what we're willing to do for your $1.
Exactly. But yeah, no. Let's put a bow on it. Mandy in the books. Phenomenal. Excited for Color Out of Space. And all of the other things that we will be bringing to you, the listener, as far as content is concerned. As always, thank you for tuning in and listening to a couple of friends talk about some movies together. I think it's a lot of fun. So as always, listeners, please, if you take nothing else from this podcast, please take that we appreciate you.
You ripped my bye-bye. You ripped my bye-bye!